it's hard to know 2 days in advance what to talk about on your Sunday show.
Listen, before we get to that, I want to talk about something serious, because you guys, I know, have been discussing at great length the ABC documentary, and I have a very strong opinion about this.
Okay.
I think Disney, which is the parent company of ABC, did this to my father a few years ago. They made a movie called The Insider, involving my father and the tobacco industry, and they had Christopher Plummer, a great actor, saying and doing things as my father that he never said and never did. I don't know if it's legal, but I think it's unethical and it's lousy. And I think that's what ABC, a child of subsidiary of Disney, is doing here. You know, it's one thing to sit there and criticize the Clinton administration for what they did or didn't do in the chasing of Osama bin Laden, but when you put somebody up on the screen and say, that's Madeleine Albright or that's Sandy Berger, and you have them saying or doing something that they didn't say or do, that's unethical. It shouldn't happen. They should take the scene out. I think it's just wrong.
I think they are in many respects. Chris, you're mad.
Yeah. No, I am mad about it, because this idea of docudramas, you sit there and you say, well, all right, it's just a drama, but no, I've said viewers look, and when they see something and they say it's based on the 9/11 Commission, and the only way I can put it, Eric, is he went off, and you can see him there. He got very much in my face. He called it a conservative hit job. This was an attack by right-wingers. And you know, he defends himself very articulately, as he always does, but he also gets very much into this idea that he's the victim of a right-wing conspiracy. And I tried to get him back to talk about the Clinton Global Initiative. He wouldn't have any of it. He wanted to talk about this. But when you sit there and put somebody on the screen and say, that's Madeleine Albright, and she said this in a specific conversation, and she never did say it, I think it's slanderous, I think it's defamatory, and I think that ABC and Disney should be held to account.
What's different from how show?
I mean, remember when somebody, I think it was Showtime, CBS, remember, they did a documentary about the Reagans.
Yes.
And the Reagan family went nuts about it because they had all kinds of scenes involving Nancy Reagan as some kind of crazy martinet that were, again, made up. And I don't think you should do movies that if they want to say Secretary of State John Smith said something, that's one thing. But when they say Secretary of State Madeleine Albright said something, then it better be what she said, or I think she's got a heck of a case. You know, here's the interesting thing about this. He did a bunch of interviews over the course of this last week. He talked to Larry King for about a half an hour. He did Tim Russert, Keith Olbermann, Meredith Vieira on the Today Show. I've looked at all these interviews. I was the only one to ask him about his record fighting Al-Qaeda. I have to say, particularly after the controversy over ABC and the docudrama, the path to 9/11, I find that astonishing. Not that I asked it, but that none of these asked it. And
are you going to be talking about this weekend on your big show?
No, we're leaving it to you guys.
What are you going to talk about?
Big show, we're going to be talking about 9/11. I mean, frankly, there's a lot more important stuff than some silly ABC movie. Let me ask it, and I didn't think it was going to be inflammatory. I thought he'd, handle it for 30 seconds. We'd move on. He accused me of having a smirk at one point. Frankly, I was in wonder at this kind of tidal wave of emotion on his part.
Did you rent The Insider? Yeah.
No, I went to see it, and I got to tell you, to see my father saying things that were not especially flattering, that he didn't actually say, is very hurtful. And I can understand why these guys are mad. I'd be mad. Wouldn't you be mad if they did a show about Rockwell friends and had you say something you didn't say?
Administration?
I don't think I got him on anything, honestly, Eric. I think I just asked him a question. It's a legitimate public policy question. There's been books written about it. There's a new book out called The Looming Tower, written by a liberal journalist, and Lawrence Wright. It's one of the top bestsellers in America right now. It's a legitimate issue. Could he have done more during his 8 years in office? And for some reason, this became a conservative hit job.
Well,
and look, it's funny. I'm not saying that the Clinton administration didn't do plenty wrong in the way it handled Al-Qaeda.